Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel Held Dominance. Anthony here. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also click that notification bell if you're enjoying what you've seen and if you want to see more. What can I say? Coming up in today's episode, games galore from the Betfred Challenge Cup, and NRL weekend finishes off. The Betfred Championship has a game, and we see the return of the Betfred League One. Okay, let's begin. Well, first of all, we're going to have a look at the NRL, as there were 2 games played on Sunday, and we are going to have a look at the reports, how the 2 teams got on. First of all, we're going to have a look at Manly Sea Eagles versus Canterbury Bulldogs, as the 2 teams are coming in with it in different form, as Bulldogs have got 1 win out of their 2 games, when Manly Sea Eagles haven't got any points on the board so far. The 2 teams have made changes to their side, and this is who's playing where and how. The Sea Eagles made 1 late surprise change, with Andrew Davies starting in the back row, while Ethan Bulmore having to drop back to the bench. The Bulldogs, on the other hand, winger Jaden Ockenbaugh came out of the team on Saturday, and his place was taken by Aaron Schupp. Brandon Wakeman will also start at halfback in place of Jake Aparillo, who drops to the 18th man. Luke Thompson and Corey Waddell also switch places, with the Englishman set to come off the bench. It was a special day for Manly, but the conditions were shocking, with torrential rain greeting the players. It didn't help Manly's cause either early, with a spilled ball landing to Brandon Wakeman's hands for a try within a minute of the game. Matt Burton was unable to convert for the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs were impressive early, showing glimpses in attack but were shady in defence, especially on the flanks, with a compressed defence welcoming the home side into territory. They dug in, however, reaping the rewards of an expansive play, with Matt Duffy, whose grubber bounced up perfectly for Braden Burns. Burton again missed the conversion from out wide, but for adding a penalty goal late into the first half. Manly were happy to play expansive football again, and this time caught the up and in Bulldogs defence out of position, with Ruben Garrick finding space and then eventually finding Tom Trebojevic for a simple try. Garrick converted to close the gap to 4. And on the stroke of half-time, the Eagles struck wide again, with Garrick finding a clear run to the line. The conversion was a beauty as well, and it put the home side up 12 points to 10 into half-time break. The rain eased, but not for long in the second half, as the heavens opened not long into the half. It proved costly for both sides, but especially the Bulldogs, who couldn't help but drop the ball and put themselves under pressure. To their credit, they defended well, as they were under the pump for much of the half. Manly crossed, but the bunker had ruled a knock-on before the grounding, which was the most action of the half until a penalty goal to the Bulldogs levelled up the scores with 9 minutes remaining. Daly Cherry Evans had a field goal attempt charged down with 5 minutes to play. The Bulldogs, however, continued to make it hard for themselves and turned the ball over and presented a big chance for Manly. Daly Cherry Evans didn't need another invitation. This time he slotted the field goal over for a 13 points to 12 lead with 3 minutes on the clock. Whilst the Bulldogs had a couple of further opportunities with the ball, they never looked like scoring in the trying condition. Burton attempted a 2-point field goal, but it was to no avail, as Manly hung on for a 1-point victory, and their first win of the season for a 13 points to 12 win. And the final game of the NRL weekend that we're going to cover is the final one that was played, as we see the Brisbane Broncos face the North Queensland Cowboys, with both sides doing remarkably well in comparison to what they were expected to do to begin the season. So let's look at the teams. Now, we hear that the Broncos' Corey Jensen is back in the teams after being promoted from the reserves, and it is on the interchange bench in a swap for TC Rabati, in the only change that the side had originally named during the week. The Cowboys were laid up as per programme. Ruben Cotter joins the bench in place of Mitchell Dunn, who suffered a season-ending knee injury against the Raiders. So, how did the two teams do? Well, the local derby between the Queensland teams did not disappoint on Sunday afternoon, as the two sides saw action, but it was the Cowboys that immediately looked up for the contest, clearly enjoying the local derby atmosphere. Their first points came from a penalty goal scored by Valentine Holmes, and almost immediately after they scored their first try, looking very confident. After 15 minutes, the Cowboys were 8 points to 0 up. Despite the lead, Broncos were just involved in the contest, challenging their opposition, coming close to scoring a few times, just narrowly missing out. The contest began to heat up, and Valentine Holmes had another chance to extend the Cowboys' lead, but instead he opted to not to pass the ball out, and just fell short of a try. Soon after, the Broncos were able to intercept the ball and make the grounding, making sure of keeping themselves in the contest. The Broncos were awarded a penalty on the 24-minute mark. Herbie Farnworth was clearly held back by the Cowboys. These were the first points for Brisbane, narrowing the gap just to 2 points between both sides. Both the Broncos and the Cowboys were eventually up for the contest. Each side showed their strength in attack and cohesive defensive structure. The half ended with a late try for Griffin Neame. The Cowboys went into the half-time break 8 points ahead against the Broncos. Into the second half, and following the similar timeline to the first, the Cowboys were first to score after Valentine Holmes was given the perfect opportunity, extending their lead to 14 points. Jeremiah Nanane scored his second try of the afternoon off Dearden's kick. Everything looked to be in the favour of North Queensland Cowboys, who had well and truly established their dominance in the Sunday afternoon derby against their local rivals. The Cowboys were favourable in possession and were completing almost perfectly in the second half their sets, which most definitely was the defining factor between the two teams. The Broncos struggled to give themselves opportunities that they could capitalise on, and any time they were given an opportunity, the Cowboys' defence was proving too strong. Tom Dearden and Jeremiah Nanane were back at it again just a few minutes later. A perfectly placed Dearden kick gave Nanane his third try of the afternoon. With 6 minutes remaining in the game, Tom Dearden scored a try for himself after going from dummy half right on the Brisbane line. The enthusiasm from the Cowboys turned the second half into a completely different game to what the first half had promised. But with 3 minutes remaining, the Broncos were gifted a late lucky bounce that allowed Herbie Farnworth to score Brisbane's second try of the afternoon. But it wasn't enough, and the final score was Brisbane Broncos 12, North Queensland Cowboys 38. So now we're going on to the kickoff of the Betfred League One, as this week they have their opening round of fixtures. There are 11 teams in the Betfred League One, which is the third tier of the English Rugby League pyramid, and every week one of the teams have to take a bye. Just how it goes. This week it was Cornwall RLFC who took the first bye, and so let's go on to how the rest of the teams went on. First of all, Doncaster beat the Midland Hurricanes 48 points to 20. It was a close first half, which meant that the two sides went in 18 points to 14 at half time in the Dons' favour. And to their own admission on their social media account, the Hurricanes had a mad 10 minutes that let Doncaster score quite a lot of points. So all the points for Doncaster were scored by 2 tries by Tarley, who you see in the picture here, Robinson, Tuala Papa, who's their fullback, Olet, Johnston, Sanderson and Ruan all scored a try apiece, while Robinson kicked 8 goals. For the Hurricanes, Hardcastle, Coburn and Croston all scored tries, while Hardcastle kicked 2 conversions and 2 penalties. Next we have Oldham 6, Keighley Cougars 32. Keighley went in 16 points to 0 in the lead at half time after tries from Stevenson, Levi and Young. 2 conversions from Miller put them on the lead. Oldham came back with Restall and Ridyard scoring their points, but Levi scored his second and Roebuck scored twice to set Keighley on for their win. Another 2 conversions by Miller gave Keighley that win. The Rochdale Hornets were beaten in a close one of 34 points to 36 against the North Wales Crusaders. It was an excellent game as both teams gave their all throughout the match and probably the tie of the weekend. It was even close at half time after a 12 points to 18 scoreline in the North Wales Crusaders' favour. Well, Rochdale, Rodden, Sheridan, Foden, Tyra, Forster and Fui Moi Moi went over for tries, while Sheridan kicked 5 goals. For North Wales Crusaders, Turner scored 2 tries, with Holmes, Swarbrick and Rodden completing going over the try line, while 4 conversions for North Wales Crusaders by Johnston gave them a closer looking game, but it was the 4 penalties by Johnson that were given away by Rochdale that sealed the win for the Crusaders. And finally, a big result for the favourites for promotion this year's Swinton Lions as they beat comprehensively the West Wales Raiders 82 points to 4. Tries from Forsyth, Case, Lepori, 2 for Forsyth, 2 for Roberts, 2 for Butt, 2 for Hanson, 2 for Abram, 2 for Lloyd, and another from Abram by Meadows saw Swinton's try-scoring exploits ramp up, even with a 14 points to 0 half-time scoreline. Hanson kicked 1 goal, while Abram kicked the other 10. While West Wales Raiders had Harris to thank for their points. It's going to be a fast turnaround for the teams as on Saturday the 2nd of April 2022 we see West Wales faves Rochdale Hornets and North Wales Crusaders face the debuting Cornwall RLFC. Cornwall are going to have all their games shown on our league, so you'll be able to pick them up as and when you wish. On Sunday, Hunslet face Oldham, while Keighley Cougars face Doncaster, and Midland Hurricanes will have a daunting task about the already rampant Swinton Lions. And I forgot one score that happened on Saturday, as London Scholars went down 10 points to 28 to the Hunslet Hawks. Hunslet Hawks came from behind after being outfought in the first half by their London counterparts. Tries from Jason Mossop, David Gibbons, Jack Mallinson, who also converted for the 4 tries, Harvey Whiteley and Joe Summers saw the Hunslet Club come out victorious against a 12-man London Scholars side who had a player sent off due to a headshot. And it got worse as they went down to 11 men for 10 minutes due to a spear tackle by London on Hunslet's Jack Render. Jonathan Bell and a 70-yard run from Aaron Small were the try scoring highlights for the London Scholars. So just to cover all our bases, there was one game in the Betfred Championship this weekend on Sunday, because there's another game on Monday due to catch-up needed to be done, and it was shown on Premier Sports. But anyway, Workington Town went down 6 points to 42 against the Halifax Panthers. A 24 points to 0 lead for Halifax at half-time saw the momentum only going one way throughout the entire game, as Halifax Panthers had Kavanagh, Laroya, Murray, Barber, Tangata, Tibbs and Keys to thank for the tries, and Keys kicked over 7 goals. Workington had Clegg scoring his try and Forber converting for these 6 points. So we go into our final 2 games that we're going to talk about, and we'll come to Warrington versus Wakefield a little bit later, as we're going to have a look first at Barrow Raiders versus Huddersfield Giants, as this Sunday afternoon kickoff saw the Championship side welcome their Super League opposition. Normally I'd go through the team news, but instead let's just go through the action, as it was a fantastic game between these two sides who gave their all for trying to get a place in the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup. Huddersfield had already gone in for a try early in the first half, about 14-15 minutes in, that Ollie Russell converted a Luke Yates barnstorming run close to the line for the first try of the game. Then Huddersfield came again and scored their second try. From the play of the ball on the 4th tackle, the ball went through the hands, and a pass to Ricky Lulatelli in a gap saw Huddersfield go 10 points to 0 up. Ollie Russell added the extras for a 12 points to 0 lead, but then it looked ominous as Huddersfield were going through the hands, and a Ash Golding pass was picked off by T. Ritson, who sprinted 80 metres, getting some decent change from Huddersfield's in this senior, but he had enough pace about him to go all the way to score on the 31st minute for Barrow, their first try of the game.
As a scout, Johnston, now Salmon, now they've got Nunes, gets the ball away, in the hard yards again, Mossop, just orchestrating things.
Barrow started scheming and the ball went through the half. Samet found a long pass to Hakeem Maloudi, whose ball went to that man Ritson again, who scored spectacularly in the corner. Samet's kick was unsuccessful, but it was 18 points to 10 and game on yet once more. But Huddersfield started to pull the strings once more as they went over for yet another try. From what I could tell, it was Jack Ashworth who broke the line to score another Giants try from close in, as the Super League side were being efficient, methodical. Nothing spectacular, just get over the line, which they needed to do in a game like this, as Barrow were exuberant and were a joy to watch, to be honest, as they came again. Deep in the Huddersfield half once more, and Jared Samet receives the ball and does a short pass to Stack, who goes over for yet another Barrow try for 14 points to 22. And yet again it was game on as Samet adds the extras for 22 points to 16. But unfortunately for Barrow, that's more or less where the game ended for them, as not long after Huddersfield scored more points. First of all, they got a penalty as the Raiders were offside on the 64th minute in their own half with Huddersfield on the ball, and Ollie Russell adds the extras to show the respect that the Barrow deserved by saying, we've got to just push it a little bit further because we think that you might come again. So instead of being 6 points ahead, 22 points to 16, it's 8 points. Barrow would have to score twice to win the game. But on the 79th minute, Huddersfield Giants added another try as Innes Senior touchdown after the ball goes loose on the Raiders line, which Ollie Russell adds the extras to, and we find a full-time score. Barrow Raiders 16, Huddersfield Giants 30. Now for the aforementioned Challenge Cup game between Warrington Wolves and Wakefield Trinity, as the two sides set to face each other a week on after the massive win for Wakefield at the Halliwell-Jones Stadium in the Super League. Warrington's indifferent season keeps getting worse and worse, and they come up against the Wakefield side that has their tails up after some decent results over the last two games. Premier Sports were the hosts for the game, and we were set for some good entertainment. Warrington had Billy Magoulis starting for the first time as the NRL recruits, the Greek international, comes into the side for what was an interesting game. It started so well for Warrington as one of their first attacks of the game in about the 10th minute saw a break from Widdop, who kicks for the left-hand edge for Connor Wrench to go over for the opening try of the game, which Widdop added the extras for a 6-0 lead. It was all going Warrington's way as Josh Thulis adds a second try on the 13th minute, and Gareth Widdop adds the extras for a 12-0 lead. This, though, lasted for another 14 minutes, and Wakefield scored as Lewis Murphy went in for Wakefield and Mason Lino adds the extras. But we're coming up to half time and there's a bit of controversy for the referee to sort out, which unfortunately doesn't appear to have been done. Coming up to the half-time hooter, Wakefield threw caution to the wind with a great kick to the edge to Liam Kay from Mason Lino, who in turn kicked back inside. And the chase was on between Warrington defenders and Tanganoa. The referee gives a 20-metre restart and a half-time hooter goes. But looking at replays, Warrington have seemed to have got away with one just before half-time. As the ball is coming through, Connor Wrench appears to have pulled back Tanganoa as the ball was in the goal line and he could get to the ball. You could see it. If he wasn't pulled back, there was a chance that he could get to the ball, so it was penalty try territory. Pulled him back clearly by Connor Wrench. But it wasn't given, with a 12-6 lead to Warrington. Wakefield didn't have to be too deterred as they came out in the second half, and it was about the 55th minute when they were on the board again. Some great play from Mason Lino found Liam Kay with an over-the-top ball, who passed back inside for Reece Lynn, and from 30 out he weaved through the Warrington defence to score Wakefield's second try of the game, which Lino added the extras for a 12-12 scoreline. With disjointing play the ball, defensive lines and players sat down, Wakefield decided to turn on the champagne stuff and they find their winger fullback Max Jowett, who shrugs off a few defenders and finds a looping ball over to Corey Hall, who scores in the corner for 14 points to 12 to Wakefield. Only a couple of minutes after the last one. Lionel's attempt misses at this point, but that was the end of the point scoring, and we see the final result of Warrington 12, Wakefield 16. That can be construed as a giant killing, as Wakefield are not one of the fancied teams to get to a Challenge Cup final or even win it. So Warrington are out, who are more than likely one of the teams that could have got there. Fan base, expectations and so forth. At the half time during the game, the quarter-final draw was made, and Wakefield have got a home tie against Wigan Warriors to look forward to. OKR, after their victory against Leigh, face Castleford Tigers, which their Castleford Tigers Lee Radford, their coach, said, "Oh, that's a short trip for me, I only live around the corner." Huddersfield Giants face Hull FC, so the Giants' reward for their result is the results change in Hull FC coming to town. Castellan's Dragons get a home advantage against the holders St Helens, in which is probably the mouth-watering tie of the round. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and also share this video worldwide. And also click that notification bell for any updates and new videos that may be coming your way. Don't know about you, but I've seen some great games this weekend in the Challenge Cup predominantly, as Barrow showed the heart and tenacity that the Championship has in scaring Huddersfield, to be honest. What a result. Well, speaking of the Challenge Cup, what about Warrington? 4 defeats on the spin. No matter what competition, that's not good enough. Are they regretting what they've decided to do with Daryl Powell in charge, or making so many changes, or is it just a work in progress and they'll come better as the season gets on? I'll have to look back into Castleford's season form from the last few years to see how they get on, but if that's the case, we'll probably see their top movement, the top efforts when it comes towards the Magic Weekend. Or even they're hoping it's Good Friday that this happens. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Tell me in the comments below what your favourite results of the weekend was. I'd like to hear them all. But in the meantime, please stay safe. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next episode.